protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's Chris Hoffman with Money Unleashed.
How much money do you put into your checking account from work on a month-to-month basis? It has a high probability that with your investable assets, we can replace that paycheck.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
You've worked for 35 years. It's time for you to not stress. It's time for you to enjoy and live the retirement you want to live.
It's Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman.
Welcome into the Money Unleashed podcast with Chris Hoffman. We've got a great discussion for you today, and we appreciate you checking out the show. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we all want to make the right moves, and to do that, sometimes we just need to learn what the wrong moves are and avoid those altogether. Yahoo Finance detailed moves that they contend will destroy your retirement account. That doesn't sound pleasant, so we know they're out there. Let's tiptoe through a few of these landmines,
let's
Chris.
do it.
And let's start with one that I think we've talked about a lot on the show, and that is thinking that your 401k is a retirement plan.
Yeah, it's not. And it's funny because that is the primary retirement plan that's touted out there, and it's called a retirement plan, a 401k retirement plan. It is not a retirement plan, folks. First of all, there's no planning around it whatsoever. It's a series of you have 10 or 20 choices of investments that do no planning for you whatsoever. They don't do any tax planning for you. They don't do any income planning for you. You basically, to a large extent, get two choices. You want to be in the stock market, or do you want to be in the bond market? Those are your two choices. And that is not a good diversified plan. That no 401k plan says, here is how much guaranteed income you can generate, or here's how much highly reliable income you can guarantee yourself or expect over a period of time. So the 401k is a flawed, it's not a plan. It is a retirement account that you're supposed to fund. But eventually, if you want to put the retirement plan in place, you're going to have to either change the way you're investing in that 401k or move it to an IRA to begin the planning process. I recommend doing that. If you're eligible to do it in your 50s, you should, I believe, depending on your particular plan. But at 59 and a half, you should all have the ability to do an in-service withdrawal, which is basically a rollover to an IRA. And that's when you should seriously consider diversifying into an IRA and starting to develop a full retirement plan.
Yeah, the 401k is a savings plan, or really it's a tool, but to your point, certainly not a plan overall. And there are options with what you can do with it.
It's more of an investment account. It shouldn't be called a retirement plan. It should be called a 401k investment account. But I think it's broken. I think it sets a false sense of security that people are funding their retirement. They're not. They are funding an investment account, which can go up, can go down, and it does not plan for your retirement.
Now, here's something else that can destroy your retirement account or your retirement plan, and that is letting fear or headlines that we're seeing dictate our mood.
Yeah, so this is a big one, and I'll use Warren Buffett as an example, who says, look, if you can't invest in stocks over a 10-year or longer period, you should not be investing in the stock market.
Wow.
That's a tremendously powerful message, folks. But I concur. If you've put more money into the stock market than you can afford to leave in there for a full 10 years, you've got to analyze that. Now, that doesn't apply to 20-year-old investors or 30-year-old investors or even 40-year-old investors. But if you're in your 50s or 60s or older, you cannot let fear dictate when you buy or sell, because you will use your emotions, and those emotions will hurt you. If you're fearful of the stock market when it's going down, you never want to sell when stocks are down, folks. You want to sell when stocks are up. If you don't have fear, but you have euphoria about the stocks going up and you're pushing in, again, you've got it backwards. When the market is going up, 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 you should be paring back your gains and diversifying those gains into other assets that are lower in risk profile. When the market is plummeting, when everybody else is panicking, that's when we stay stable and we start to invest into the market. And yes, we're not trying to time the exact bottom of the market, But if you do it strategically in certain percentages, you can actually turn everybody else's fear into your economic boom. So fear is a dangerous thing. Use it against the rest of the world and use it against the market. And do not build your plan where you could ever have a fear that you're not in the right position.
Yeah, two things I really take away from that. And when we have this type of discussion, obviously it's about time in the market over timing the market. But when you do think about market timing, it's important to point out that it really means you have to be right twice. You have to get out at the right time. You have to get back in at the right time. And Chris, I don't need to tell you, that's a very, very difficult proposition.
It's impossible. And if people are trying to waste their time in figuring that out, good luck. You're going to miss it. And for the one time that you timed it right, you'll mistime it 5 or 10 times, and that'll just undo it. And it's a waste of your emotional energy. Build a solid plan and take what the market gives you. And don't be afraid to do the counter to what everybody else is panicking about.
Now, here's another one to keep in mind when it comes to securing your retirement account, your retirement plan, and that is underestimating how much you'll actually need when you get to retirement. Some people find themselves in this boat. And look, it comes back to what we talk about time and time again on Money Unleashed and what you talk about time and time again with clients who come into Hoffman Financial Group, replacing your paycheck.
That's right. Well, understanding how much you'll actually need points to how much investable assets in total you'll need. So when you hear Wall Street say, well, if you're a 401k millionaire, you can retire, or now the number is 1.2 million, or now the number is 1.5 million, and they keep changing the number, and they're focused on the wrong number. Retirement is easy, folks. It's a matter of whatever your lifestyle is, when you're working, and how much you're spending month over month. If you can replace all of that income from your employer with your financial assets, you can retire. Period. End of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter whether you have $300,000 in the bank or $30 million in the bank. You can let your principal grow if your financial assets are writing your paycheck. So you're right. It's about replacing your paycheck. Don't obsess about the number you have in investable assets. Obsess about the highly reliable or guaranteed income you can generate in retirement.
Another of the Yahoo Finance moves that could destroy your retirement account, ignoring the silent killer, and the silent killer is fees.
Yep, and that's another thing that drives me nuts about 401k plans, because the government has tried for years, if not a decade or more, to get 401k companies to more clearly define how much they have in fees. So it drives me nuts when I see mutual funds with high expense ratios on them. You certainly want to keep your fees minimal, if close to nothing. That's why I like stock portfolio investing, by the way, because you don't have to pay even an index fee. But we will do a full fee analysis for you in our Portfolio X-ray that will shine a light on possibly some investments you're in that are charging you excessive fees and under-delivering for you.
And look, not all fees are bad, but you want to get out of them what you're paying for. You want to get that service that you are paying for, to put it another way. And now look, relying too heavily on the Wall Street model and ignoring what the wealthy are actually doing, I thought this was a fascinating topic.
Yep.
We always talk about the cookie-cutter plans that are out there, but how about exploring some other options that you might just pick up from some folks that know a thing or two about money?
Absolutely, and 100% for sure. The Wall Street model is so heavily pointed in two areas: stocks for growth, bonds for protection. And bonds do not protect you, folks, when interest rates are going up. When interest rates are rising, bond prices are going to fall. Bond indexes have underperformed greatly, in my opinion, over the last 10 years. I do not think you should be in bond funds. If you buy bonds, you should buy them direct and hold them to maturity. So in a 401k, you've got two choices. You can be in the stock market or you can be in the bond market, and both of them at times are not favorable. So what are we talking about as far as alternative investments? Well, real estate, for one. I have a tremendous amount of clients that have rental properties. It's an asset that provides diversification, so you're not hung out on the stock market or the bond market, and it may provide income for you. So that's a healthy thing in retirement. The ultra wealthy diversify into things like fine art, or the non-ultra wealthy, which would be my wife and I. She diversifies and claims that her bags, and I don't know what the popular bag is, whether it's...
There's probably quite a few.
Yeah. She makes it clear to me that the day she buys them and brings them home, they're already up 10 or 20%. So I'm like, the problem is, honey, you're never going to sell them. So it's really not an investable asset for us. But she's using it against me, and I'm fine with that.
Well, everybody has their things, and I diversify in sports memorabilia and baseball cards.
That's
so
right.
Whatever I buy, I want it to have some kind of tangible value should I need to pass it on to someone else, or should I need to sell that later.
So what just struck me there is you are somewhat of an expert in that field. I wouldn't know what to buy. And my wife is kind of an expert in her area of shopping.
Right.
Or there are people that understand classic cars. I have clients that buy classic cars and fix them up and remodel them. It's a great hobby for them, and they're able to turn around and sell them, and there's a market for them. So not a bad thing to diversify if it's an area you enjoy and you have some level of expertise in.
Well, let's close out with this one, which I think is important and could be on anybody's list of just trying to keep your retirement plan, your retirement accounts secure, and that is not treating them like a backup plan instead of a priority. You know how much planning needs to go into this, and it's important for everybody to have that mindset.
Yeah, your retirement plan will just not appear from the sky, folks. It's something you work on and you have to develop, and you have to start early at developing the stages to build the blocks for a full retirement plan. Yes, it's about amassing a certain amount of wealth. Yes, it's about analyzing how much income you can generate. Yes, it's about studying and analyzing your Social Security and or your pensions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it involves what age you're going to retire, when you're going to trigger Social Security, when you're going to get Medicare, or do you have a legacy health care plan when you retire that your corporation or the entity you worked for will pay for some of that health care? Do you have long-term care? Have you checked that box to figure out if and when one of us needs long-term care, how is that going to be paid for? It's a process. The earlier you start, the less emotions will eat away at you, and you can check more of the boxes and prepare yourself for a successful and enjoyable retirement life.
And this whole discussion, really, I mean, we all want to make the right moves, like I said. Sometimes that involves just knowing what the wrong moves are and avoiding those altogether. But I can tell you one right move, and that is being proactive about your financial planning. Hoffman Financial Group is here to help you with all of those needs. It starts with the Portfolio X-Ray. It's a complimentary service, and you can get yours started today at 404-341-6767. That's the number, 404-341-6767, or find us online at unleashyourmoney.com. Chris Hoffman is an investment advisor representative of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.